Hey everyone, this is Mike Andes, and you're listening to the Business Bootcamp Podcast. Today I'm going to be talking about pay for performance and how you as a business owner can pay your employees based upon the money they bring to the business instead of the hours they punch on the time clock. But before we get into today's show, a big thank you to today's sponsor, which is Gusto. If you haven't already, go to gusto.com/bootcamp for a free 90-day trial of the world's best software, in my opinion, for payroll and benefits for small businesses. So check it out. You get 90 days completely free. You're able to run your payroll through there. It'll give you your W-2s. It'll do direct deposits for your every single pay period. It's fantastic because your employees can go in there as a portal and see everything. Very transparent, very good. Check it out today. Go to Gusto, that's gusto.com/bootcamp. Now, today is not going to be a long episode, but I want to share something I've been thinking a lot about and something we are implementing in my business in the coming future, and we're working and developing right now. And so this is something that I'm going to dig really, really deep in with Pro Plus members and really go into how I'm actually breaking it down and paying my employees and my team. However, I wanted to kind of give a broad, general kind of view so that you can think about this regardless of whatever industry you're in. I don't care if this is sales, services, online website stuff and sales, like whatever you do, I feel like this is where you want to be. And so the reason this kind of came about, and my intrigue has always been around this pay for performance instead of just hours. I feel like, especially in the past couple of weeks as I've really dug into it, I feel like paying people by an hourly rate is a very lazy way of doing compensation. And the reason I feel that way is because it's just so simple for us as business owners to keep track of, and yet it's just a horrible, horrible way to gauge performance or gauge value or profitability of an employee to the business. And so I've read some of Dan Kennedy's stuff recently and stuff on management and things like that, and I really liked some of the thoughts and ideas, very different to the way I think a lot of times. And so the balance between my kind of traditional thinking about teamwork and leadership and paying people and what an employee is to a business, and then his, other side of the equation, other side of the spectrum, and the balance between that, I think, is, creating something pretty cool. And what that is really me being very focused on this idea that there's really no reason for someone just to pay someone as an employee for them just to show up and have a pulse. I really do believe that an employee is brought into a business in order to drive profits for that business. And so why are we not paying people based upon the profits they bring to the company? And so this is something that is a little bit easier sometimes for higher level positions. It's a little bit easier for very independent type businesses. In other words, you don't have to rely on a whole bunch of other people. And so in the past, I've always strayed away from pay for performance in the fear that by doing so, there's going to be competition that's negative between team members. And I never want to create a culture where people are trying to not help others because they aren't getting paid for it, or because they want to do better than someone else, they don't help them out, or whatever. And I really believe in this healthy competition, and for that reason, we've always done scoreboards and keeping track of profitability and things like that on a crew-by-crew level and things like that. But I think this totally kind of expands beyond just any certain industry or type of work. I feel like this is something that any business owner, regardless of what industry, can try to implement. And it might be just a piece of your compensation package that's based upon performance, but whatever it is, I don't care if you sell things online, if you sell software online, there is a way to pay your people based upon how many pieces of software they sell, or at least pay them based upon how many transactions they affect, and thereby turn your employees, all of them, into salespeople, all of them into really business owners within the company. And so this is something that we've been really thinking about in really getting alignment between the business and what the company wants and profitability and what the employees want. And so especially if you're going to have entry-level positions or laborers type positions, well, the last thing you want to do is have people that are high-performing, working super, super hard, and yet they're making the same amount as some person that's just kind of they're just kind of flying under the radar. They aren't putting in 100%. They take long breaks. They are not engaged. They are always aloof, thinking about other things. They're on their phone. They're just not connected with the business. They don't worry about what other people are doing. They're engaged. And so I feel like the people who are at your business that are actually high performers are actually producing 3-4 times the amount of profit for your business as the average performer, and yet they're getting paid maybe 10-20% more. And I genuinely believe that a great employee, a great team member is literally worth 3, 4, 5 times as much as an average performer or a less than average performer, and yet they're only paid 10, 15, 20% more, maybe twice as much, but yet they're making 3, 4 times the impact of an average employee. And so how do you pay them correctly? You pay them by performance. And how do you discourage and how do you eliminate the people who are not performing well within your organization? You pay on performance. Because if someone's requiring me to pay them $20 an hour and yet they're an average performer or worse yet, and they're only going to make $15 per hour when I pay them based upon performance, guess what? They're going to leave and go try to find another employer that's a sucker and is going to pay them $20 when they are not producing that level of work for the business. And so I feel like there's people within our organization that will make $15, $16 an hour. I feel like there's going to be people who make over $30 an hour. Literally the same people making the same amount per hour now, but when we do it based upon performance, it's just going to completely change the game. And what this is going to do for your business is it's going to be the natural way of eliminating the underperformers. So people who are underperforming are not going to make much money in the scenario that I'm creating here, and thereby they are going to leave. They're going to go find something else. The performers that are doing well, they're going to get paid so much that they are not going to want to go anywhere else. And for the people that are in between, they're going to realize that they can either slack off and get hardly any money, or they're going to actually embetter themselves. They're going to train themselves. They're going to figure out how to make themselves more efficient, make more product. They're going to sell more things. Whatever you're doing, they're going to start to be able to train themselves instead of you having to enforce training or enforce that they learn more and get more educated about your products or services. They're going to go figure that out themselves because they now know that by doing so, they're going to make more money because it's going to directly correlate to their performance. So instead of me having to go out and tell my landscaping crews that they need to get training on how to mow efficiently or how to edge efficiently or how to trim a bush efficiently, they're going to go do that themselves because they know if they do, they're going to get paid more money. And instead of me having to deal with people coming and asking for a raise and me not thinking or having to debate whether or not they deserve it, now it's up to them to go produce value. If they want more money, they should go educate themselves. They should go train themselves. They should go ask another employee about how they can embetter their sales ability or embetter their skill set or embetter the way they do certain things or where's waste in their workflow. And they're going to go and make themselves more efficient, more profitable, and better for the company as a whole, thereby make more money. And so no longer do I need to figure out like raises and how much people are paid. It'll be a very simple scale that's across the entire board. And for the people that are been here for a long time, they think they deserve more. The thing is, if you've been here for a long time, you should have the skills and you should have the resources and you should have the knowledge that's going to make you make more money. If not, you're just been around for a long time and you don't deserve to make any more. Whereas some new person coming in, maybe they don't have all the skills, the training, the knowledge, the experience that person that's been around for a long time, but they might have work harder. They might put more time in. They might go and study their craft outside of hours, and all of a sudden they're making a whole lot more. That is a pure meritocracy. And I feel that our highest performing people are getting underpaid when our lowest performing people are getting far too much money that should be going to the high performers. And I also think that if you're worried about, okay, well, if I do this pay performance thing and they're going to get really efficient because now they're getting paid based upon how much they produce for the business, what happens if I don't have enough work? This is what's going to happen. You're going to weed out the people who are not high performers because they're going to leave. They don't make enough money in that new system. And it's going to create more work for the people that are actually high producing and have upped their efficiency because of the new system, and they're going to start to make more money. And you're going to be able to retain them, and it's going to be a pure meritocracy because if they don't make a bunch of money on a certain week, guess what? It was their fault. They were the ones that didn't check if they had all the equipment. They were the ones that didn't make the extra call and follow up with the client and get the sale. And so whatever you're doing, I don't care. Like I'm using the landscaping scenario for myself, since that's what we're incorporating in. However, whatever business you're in, I'd really be looking, how can you pay your people? How can you pay your employees based upon their performance, whether it be sales, profitability, revenue, whatever it is, whatever you are trying to incentivize, they're going to go after. If you incentivize productivity, if you incentivize, let's say, if you incentivize efficiency, you're going to also have to counterbalance that pay performance out with quality. All right, because if I'm trying to get as many lawns for my crew to do every single day, and they're getting paid based on how many lawns they do and how much revenue those bring in, I have to have a counterbalance to that pay performance, because if they just go, they're going to cut corners, they're going to try to skip things to make more money. There's got to be a counterbalance to every pay for performance package. And this is what really got out of hand with, in my opinion, a lot of the things that happened back in 2007, 2008 with the banks and things, is there was incentives around sales and things like that, but there wasn't counterbalances. There wasn't things that were like, were going to be derogatory, or things that were going to be negative, or things that were going to take away from their bonus package if there were negative consequences on the quality side. And so whatever you incentivize is going to be focused on by your people. And so you've got to make sure that you have a balance between the quality and the quality and the quantity, between sales and customer service, between satisfaction of the customer and generating more sales. And so I think that's really important to say. However, I feel it's also the thing that debilitates and keeps many business owners from trying to take the step towards pay for performance. We always are stuck in this hourly wage thing because it's easy to compare. And furthermore, not only is it easy for us to compare, because we can say, oh, well, the competitor down the street pays $15 an hour, I pay $16 an hour, so I pay my people more. But what you're doing is you're going to attract the person that is literally looking for the dollars per hour, when if you're really looking for all-stars, if you're looking for incredible people, like the all-stars of your industry, the all-stars that are working at your competitors locally are going to come to you when they realize that there is no ceiling, that they can make as much money as they can within your business by creating literally their own business within your company. Because now when my crew comes to work and they're getting paid by performance, they're going to make sure that all their equipment's done correctly. They're going to make sure their route's done correctly. They're going to make sure that every single piece of their route is most efficient. They're not going to stop. They're going to be looking for ways to increase the value to the customer and keep them, and make sure that the really high-paying customers stay on with us by doing little things extra. And their payment, their wages are aligned directly with the profitability of the business. And so how do we counterbalance that? If we have to go back, if they make a mistake, if they try to cut a corner, if they don't do the edge correctly, if they make a mistake on someone's lawn, they have to go back, and they're not getting paid for that because they're getting paid based upon the revenue. But if there's a complaint, they have to go back and fix it. And so I truly believe it's going to attract the all-stars, because if your competitors are topping out at $15 an hour and you're at $16 an hour, that might not be enough to get a really high-performing person to come work for you, that extra dollar an hour. But what will get them to come to your business is say, hey, look, you're going to make a minimum of $13 an hour, but you have the potential to make 30, 40, whatever you want to make based upon performance, and this is how we're going to do it. And so how you're going to do it is really the secret sauce. It's the thing that you've got to come up with. It's the thing that you've got to figure out, what metrics are we going to pay based upon. And I truly believe, like, the reason I love this so much is optimally in the game that I would love to play is it's a sales game where all the employees that work for me get a commission of sales, because then it's very, very simple. If you're either good at your job and you do really good sales and thereby make a bunch of money, or you do no sales and you make no money. I just don't see why people need to get paid to produce absolutely no results for the business. And so I really like when we are paying people based upon results and based upon the revenue and the profitability they bring to the company. And so I truly believe that this will attract it'll retain great people, and it'll attract great people, because when they start hearing that someone's making $25 plus an hour when everyone else is making $15 an hour, but that 25 is not, there's no cap on that. They can make 30 one day. They can make more, based upon how efficient, how experienced they are, where they can determine areas of inefficiency. I truly believe it's going to be game-changing for our business, and I really encourage you to think about, in your industry, in your business, whatever it is, how can you pay your employees based upon performance? That it might be a warehousing a warehousing job you're looking at. It might be very, very monotonous work. How can you pay them based upon per object they have to manufacture, or per pallet that they stack, or per truck that gets organized? How can you pay your people based upon performance instead of just time? And so another thing that I'm looking at is, as I am trying to automate certain of my businesses to focus on franchising later this year, is that's fantastic for an employee that's frontline worker, creating revenue, really hands-on out in the field. What about management? And so how I really like to do this and am going to be implementing within my businesses, and something I've seen work with other businesses that contacted me through Landscape Business Course and through Business Bootcamp podcast, what I've seen work really well is, again, incentivizing the thing you want to happen. So if you want your business to grow, like top line revenue growth, simply give them a percentage of top line growth. If you want to stack money away and make a bunch of profit, and you want that business to become a money machine for you, pay that manager, pay that top executive, that COO, or that operations manager, president, general manager, whatever you want to call them, pay them based upon the profitability of the business. And I don't mean the profitability of the business on paper. I would literally take the amount of money in the bank and have a certain amount of draw on it. Like, hey, every time I take $10 out, you get $2. And literally, they are going to now be incentivized to stack up money in the bank account, because they know that their bonus is based upon the profitability of the business, and then their salary or like their base pay is a smaller amount, but then that the bulk of their pay, the upside, the area for them to really expand and grow is in one of two areas, either the growth of the business or the profitability of the business. And so next year, as I look to really step out away from Augusta Lawn Care locally and really focus on it more at the franchise level, that's what I'll be doing with my management, is like, look, I'm going to give you a base pay to like pay your wage, pay your bills and things throughout the year. But then we haven't figured out yet if it's going to be quarterly or annually. They're going to get a percentage of growth and a percentage of profit. So the reason is because if I just incentivize profitability, you also have to realize they're no longer incentivized to go get new equipment, go expand the business and advertise and grow the business. So what I want to do is pay them a small percentage of gross top line revenue increase, and then also pay them a percentage of money in the bank, stacked away, profitability, money that I can take out. So literally, as I take money out, they can take money out at a certain percentage. And I feel like that's the way to do it if you want profitability. And if you want growth, if you want to go from $1 million to $1.5 million next year, that $500,000 delta, they should be getting a percentage of. Because whatever you incentivize, that's what is going to be the result for your employees. If you incentivize growth and expansion and all that, you have to have that counterbalance of profitability. Because if you just give them based upon growth, they'll go out and spend money on advertising and equipment and trucks and overpay employees, and all of a sudden you have a ship that is going awry because you've gone way off to one side. So the same way for frontline employees, where you have to counterbalance quality and quantity, you have to balance the revenue that they're creating for the business with a quality measure, some sort of quality control. I feel like the same way for management, you have to incentivize them based on profitability, balanced out with growth, so the business is healthy going forward. And so there's a lot of fine print. There's a lot of little things that you might want to add to those things. But today, I just want to plant this seed inside your mind. Why are you paying people based upon an hourly wage? You and your business are not getting paid based upon hours. Even if you charge a client by the hour, you are still not making money, profit, based upon the hours that you work. And I can prove this 100 times over by all the service businesses I look at. Your billable hours has no correlation to your profitability. Because one year you might have 10 employees. I've seen this so many times. The same amount the same number of employees, one company has twice as many billable hours, but they profit the exact same amount, the two different companies. Why is that? It's because one company's been more efficient and there's other things around just billable hours. And so I'd really be looking, okay, look at your business and ask yourself, do I really make money from this individual, this one employee? And is it more or less, do they deserve a raise? If so, let's put them on pay performance. Let them prove to you how much they're worth. And I truly believe that when you tie their payment You tie their wages, you tie their compensation to their performance. Watch their performance soar. Because if you're paying based upon time and them just showing up, they're going to do exactly that. You're incentivizing them to basically stay alive and not get fired. And that brings their level of productivity from like 100% down to like 80, because they know as long as they're above like 79, they won't get fired. As long as they can stick around, they'll make 80, do 80%, and they will be just fine. And they'll make their hourly rate. That's all they're there for. But if you can make it, you can get them from 80 to 100. I truly believe the profitability of that employee triples if you're able to pay them based upon performance. So that's my 2 cents. I don't want to give like all the specifics of how I'm doing it. It's more about planting the seed within your mind of how can you start to pay your employees based upon their performance and the profitability that they bring to the business, instead of them just staying around punching a time clock 8 hours a day and knowing the exact minute when they get to 40 hours and are on overtime and costing you time and a half. You listen to Mike Andes on the Business Bootcamp podcast. I'll see you next time. Until then, be great, because nothing else pays.